joining us because we've had a great episode. We got Coach Rich and Dr. Jen with me. And in case you forgot where we are, let me tell you. Hey, Bestie Boos, this is Dr. Marcia, and you're listening to the Movement for Everybody podcast, the show for all the homies looking to find joy and liberation through movement. Okay, there you go. Now you know where we are in case you forgot. If you're joining us on the stream, feel free to add where you're from and what native land you're on. If you happen to know, this is Dr. Marcia speaking, your friendly neighborhood physical therapist, certified yoga teacher, and author of Movement for Everybody. And I am on Powhatan, Chickahominy land. I am a black woman sitting in front of an orangey curtain. I got some pigtails and my Champagne Rose Beats headphones on, and I'm happy to be here. I'm going to let the guests introduce themselves, starting with Dr. Jen.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jen. I am a strength coach and physical therapist. I'm in my home gym that I just finished making, sitting here in an orange jacket, and I don't know what land I'm on, but now I actually need to go find that. So that's me.
Alrighty. We've got someone joining us from Moonsea, Lenape land in New York. Thank you for joining us. Coach Rich, who are you? Tell them.
Hey y'all, I'm Coach RT3, also known as Coach Rich. I am here in San Francisco, California, also known as Ohlone Land, which primary space, Ohlone Land. I am in all black I let my locks hang down for you guys, took my black hair down. And I'm sitting in front of a trash and recycling thing because I believe in recycling and being environmentally conscious. There's a window behind me, and I'm a black man in America.
Mm-hmm. Amen. That said a lot with that sentence. All right. Well, folks, you're welcome if you're joining us live to drop questions in the chat. But we're just going to talk about everything and anything because that's what we do here. So I'm going to start with a question. It's a two-parter. My first question is, what made you realize that you wanted to help people? And my second question is, do you still feel the same way or has your intention changed?
One more time. What made me realize
you wanted to help people, so coach and in this way. And do you still feel the same way or has your intention changed?
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Okay.
I can go first. I can answer it too. Yeah. So I'm the kind of kid who's like, mom had the dream of me being a doctor, right? So my family's mostly nurses. So she always got me like baby dolls with the doctor kits and like, you're going to help people. You're going to help people. You're going to help people. You know, like if my cousins were sad, she's like, she's being bullied. You need to help her. So I always grew up like, I'm a helper for some reason. I must help somebody somehow. And then when I got to PT school, it was a very rigid like, oh, I'm going to help people fix themselves. But today I'm like, first of all, I'm not God. And second of all, like, I'm lucky to be helping people. Like, I'm lucky that people are choosing me to help them. So I would say my intention has changed because it was very, like, I'm going to say power dynamic, like, savior complex. And I shifted away from that big time.
It's interesting.
Thank God.
Well, so I think for me, like, so initially, I think going to school, like, I didn't have an idea of, like, wanting to help people. I think going to school, undergrad, was more like, I'm going here to learn something, and I don't really know where I want to go, but, you know, some people have been like sports medicine, and so I just chose physiological science at UCLA. And then most of the people around me were like trying to go to med school, and I was just uncertain about, you know, what I want to do. I was still uncertain when I graduated, and so I tried a bunch of different things. Like, went to help with City College of San Francisco with the ATC there, um, and also worked at a physical therapy clinic. And then at the same time was doing like learning, kind of getting my personal training certs while I was at the Olympic Club San Francisco. So like three different sort of spaces I was in. I was with these ultra wealthy, men's only sort of space, and then like a sports space, and then a physical therapy clinic that was run like a mill. Um,
Ooh.
and we can jump into that like later, but it was in that kind of span and space that I kind of fell towards personal training because my physical therapy dreams kind of were tarnished by the nil sort of deal. And I think in that early stage of time, um, that's the early 2000s, I didn't see an alternative to that. Like I didn't see what you both are doing today as a vision of what physical therapy could be. So I kind of was like, physical therapy sucks. I'm not doing that. So and so um and so like strength and conditioning it was. And because I thought oftentimes like I want to, so that's where the help piece came in, because I felt I started moving in this path of like I want to help people not be in physical therapy, so, and or not have to go to an orthopedic, or not have to go to, deal with diabetes and heart stuff and whatever. So it's like I saw myself as like being that preventive space, being the person who can help people not go those paths, right? Or at least guide them in other directions, steer the ship. And so that was my initial, I guess, like idea of helping people. I think now, like having been in this space longer, it's kind of, it still has those tenets, but I think it's kind of evolved into um, thinking of more thinking of more of what I do as helping humanity, if that makes sense. Um, because I don't separate, as you both know, I don't separate politics from life. Like life is politics, and I'll tell anybody like straight up, like everything we do is politics. So don't
Absolutely.
don't be like, can we separate the politics? Well, can you just talk about this? I'm like health is health, right? Like the health of our community, the health of our society, the health of our, like, you're mentally deranged if you think some of the stuff that's going on around the world is not a part of our mental challenges, our health challenges, the impacts on native lands, or the relationship between native culture and the way in which society or our politics is kind of operated through corporate
Big
stuff. So
facts. Big facts.
um, for me, I think being a business owner now and being all that, like now it's like it's almost revolutionary in a way. Like, and so that's where I'm kind of at overall. It's like, why are you even in business for yourself if you're just gonna fall into the
If you're just
same
gonna
old
fall in
tropes of it?
line.
Yeah, you're just
Yeah.
gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna run it like a corporation. Like, well,
What are we doing
like,
here?
what are we doing? Like,
Yeah, we could do more than that. Dr. Jen, do you have your answer still? You
Yeah,
got
I
it good?
do. I do.
Okay.
My,
Because I want to speak to something he said before we move on. That is kind of hilarious to me.
do you
It's
want to say it
because,
first?
yes,
Okay.
is that okay? You got
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, I'm fine. You're
Okay.
good.
Because when you were like, I went to PT, and it was a mill, and that turned me off, right? And so now you're like, all right, I'm going to be community level. When I first went to PT school and like early practicing, they made your level of education and like service the enemy. They were like, people like that shouldn't be. PT should be the one teaching people how to do squats, and people like that shouldn't be walking with MS patients. It should be the physical therapist. And I'm just like, I mean, where there's a level where it's the skill changes and like people need something else to do. Like,
Mm,
where are they gonna go? Like, it's just gonna be
mm,
us forever? Like, can they go to the YMCA one day? Like, come on.
Also,
Like, why are we?
how many people need help, and like, why does this need to be territorial?
right.
Like I swear, that's been a big shift I've had, because when I was first in it, it was like this whole idea that I think there was like somebody that I worked for that was just not the best situation, but he was very much like, everybody's going to be fighting for the same group of people. And, you know, like we have to, it was just like this very just like defensive, I don't know. I just did not like that
Yeah.
energy at all. But it was like, if you realize like how much like trainers and like other people, other professions can have an effect on somebody, like why would you not want that for other people? Like why would you not want that?
Yeah. Do you want people to win or you want your pockets to win? Like, what's
Right.
happening here?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
it's not clicking for me because I would
But
love for somebody to be done with me, find Coach Rich, do their thing, be done with Coach Rich, you know, go play sports, do their thing, find a group instructor, be comfortable, and all of those things could happen in like succession at the same time. I don't care.
Just find somebody that you vibe with that helps you. Like
Yeah, you
seriously,
know
I
what?
just want people to like find people
Yeah,
that like
like you could
mesh with
do.
them and get help for, like I don't know.
right. Well, that's kind of what we've been. Sorry to like. We do need to get to docs reason,
We
but
will get
but
there.
but so once again, this like I feel like this steers back into like one of the things that I've been trying to like articulate to people with regards to the way in which we approach, because you said like, do you want the people to win or do you want your pockets to win, right? And so like it's people or pockets. People driven is by nature not capitalist, right? And so like if you are a pure capitalist, then you want your pockets to win at all costs. So like we've been conditioned and taught our whole lives to see a finite piece and like it's either all mine or nothing. It's a zero sum game. And so it's never like breaking that mindset, which is what you both are speaking to, is essential in helping progress people because you both see the pie as infinite. You know, you see all the possibilities, and I think that that's what is so special too about people who either transition from being a strength coach to both strength coach and therapist, or like or even not doing that but seeing the vision of like this is a people first thing. Like I am a servant of the community when I'm in the health space. I'm not, you know, they teach us like, oh, be a doctor because you're going to make a lot of money. And so that's the path that people take. Like, oh, I'm going to make money being a doctor, as opposed to like, I truly, genuinely want to help the community be healthy to become a better part of the community at large, right? So
It's real.
that's that's where
That's
we're
real.
at.
That's real.
True.
Yes. All right. Before any other side roads occur, we get off the. Please hurry. Please. What is your answer? Please.
My answer is very close to yours. So,
Okay.
I grew up, one, I think I had a very like nurturing role, which is very typical, I think, of just like women in society. We're just kind of like, that's conditioned a little bit, but also I was really good at it. I'm the eldest millennial daughter, like through and through, whatever. So, and I was told by my parents, like, healthcare is safe. And it was very much a safety thing. Like, you will always have a job and you're really smart, because I did well in school. So they were like, you're going to be a doctor. Like, you have to be a doctor. Not have to, but essentially that. So I went through and was like, okay, healthcare is the answer. Like, this is probably what I'm going to pursue. Family of nurses as well. So that was that. And then I got injured in high school. I was like 14. I tore my ACL, like completely blew it out, both meniscus torn. And I had a big rehab journey and saw the physical therapist and was like, this is wild, like how I got back into gymnastics. And it was crappy mill therapy, and I had so many issues afterwards. However, I was still like, this is cool. Like, look how much progress I made. And if you've ever gone through like a big injury like that, you know what happens to your trust in your body. And then to be able to be like, I got back into gymnastics was so mind blowing to me that I was like, okay, there's something here. So I was like, maybe a physical therapist. That's like a healthcare provider role. That's like on the like, to me, it was like the edge of healthcare. And so I started that way, and then kind of got more into fitness as I went into undergrad, because my husband at the time was like, I'm going to be a chiropractor. That's my goal. And we had met, and we were both having like physical therapy chiropractic goals, and he went and did an undergrad degree in exercise science. I had no idea that existed. I thought psychology was really interesting, and I was always fascinated by human behavior. Like, that is just I could just dive, like, it's just I just could like read and learn about it all the time. So got into undergrad, learned about psychology, not what I thought it was going to be. It was like very much, you know how school takes things that you could be interested in and then just like squashes your interest.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's kind of what
Yeah.
happened. And I was like, okay. And then I was learning about exercise science because Ryan was in it. And so I was like, this makes more sense. And then I was like, oh my gosh, the physiology, like all of that. I was just like, give me more information. So here we are. And I was like, as I went through that, I learned so much for myself that was like very healing, and just did so many things for me that I was like, this is so impactful. It would be so cool to be able to have that impact for other people. And that's essentially where I was. Then I went through PT school and was just like, this is nothing like I thought PT school was gonna be. Like, I went through, you know, like the stages of grief, and it was like bargaining, denial. I got stuck on anger for a while. Like, it was like angry for a good moment.
Yeah, I can relate.
Yeah. And so anyways, then I learned everything, and it was like helping a lot of the stuff that I had, like these chronic injuries and issues, and I'm hypermobile. So like understanding my body was just so cool. And then I was like, the PTs and the stuff that I had experience with in the past, like, they're just not doing this stuff. Like, there's so many more tools. And so I was just like, I have to share as much of this as I can. Like, I just want to help more people have more access to this type of information, and help, because it was so mind-blowing to me. So I think I'm still there, and I've moved more into like a mentor role too, which I don't love the term, but like, I think, to what we said earlier, just like the amount of impact like coaches can have when they have a little bit more of an organization of how they approach things, and approaching things with a whole human instead of trying to be obsessed with like the methods of things. And so I don't know if that really answers my question. Your question, I kind of went off on a tangent.
No, that answers it.
Yeah, I'd say that's
Yeah.
where I moved to.
So you are the only one of all of us that got into your formal institution and was like, you guys suck. This is dumb. I'm going to get this degree and then I'm going to figure it out. This is stupid. I drank the Kool-Aid. I was like, all right, I guess this is how we're going to bully each other for the way we dress. Sure. We're going to say patients are terrible people who never listen. Of course. We're going to blame everybody for all their problems. I mean, I guess this is what you're the teacher. This must make sense. I went with it. I was like, I guess this must be correct.
I was so angry I couldn't even handle it. I was like, why are you this way? I have this like issue with things that I just kept like, oh, why is this happening? Like, this is not how you treat people. Like, I was so angry, and maybe I'm glad that I was angry, but it was hard at first. So I don't know if I would have preferred to drink the Kool-Aid at first or not.
I guess I have a question for both of you, because you both, like me, my experience has always been with direct, like I had to like learn as I went, right? Like dealing with people and learning. And it was never like I went to school to like learn to work with people. It was kind of like a trial and error sort of thing. And there was a lot of errors, especially in my younger, years. But as yourself, Dr. Jen, going through having, I guess, some like training background, because you were a trainer before physical therapy school, right? Or kind of
Yes.
simultaneously?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so having those two experiences together, and then Dr. Marcia, like your experience with working with people, did it come before leaving physical therapy school or during? So like, what were your experiences like? Like, and how have you grown like out of that, whatever
Yeah, that's a
that
great
space
question.
was?
That is an amazing question because my PT program did not have anything about trauma informed care, about something as simple as ask somebody before you touch them. Like we didn't talk about that. We didn't talk about like, okay, social determinants of health. We didn't talk about that. We didn't talk about, all right, how to adjust home exercise programs so your patients can do them. It was just the patient is wrong. You're the expert. And that was the vibe. So I don't know how how anybody comes out of that not a jerk. That's the programming, and it's
Mm,
honestly very true for a lot of clinical and healthcare roles, like medical doctors, nurses, everything. That's the
mhm,
vibe
mhm.
because I mean that's white supremacy. But like once I get
Yes,
out
the
into the
through line,
world, yeah,
the through line.
once I
Okay.
get out in the world and actually started dealing with people, I think that's where my like heritage and background came in.
Hmm.
Is even now, even though I'm like young, I'm like I respect my elders. I call them Mrs. and I call them this and that. I let people speak. I don't interrupt them, and like that's just how I was taught. So I feel like even just that kind of mannerism and like my behavior, what people call bedside manner or whatever,
Hmm.
made people comfortable. And then I just got to learn a lot about people in those ways. Because
Mm.
somehow they just, like took a breath and relax. And then I got to learn, like, oh, okay, you had a funeral this weekend. Of course you're not going to do your exercise program. I
Right,
get to, like, think about
right.
that. Like, oh, you don't know what's going to happen to your house because your wife died. Okay, because my first job was a nursing home. Like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Oh, all your kids hate you. Okay.
Oh,
Who cares if you have a commode and a walker at home? There's nothing good to go home to. All right, great. Okay. So just having these experiences with people, I think just because of my upbringing allowed me to get there where I didn't come in just like a rigid like, "Hello, let's do your exercises."
right.
Like that's not I was not taught to speak to people that way. So I think that opened the door for me. And then formally beyond that, I would say I've learned a lot from organizations that have nothing to do with PT.
Mm,
So I've learned a lot like from Fitness for All Bodies, trauma informed weightlifting, and just taking people doing accessible yoga school, people doing like seminars and workshops, not to get a certification, because that's also a big vibe of PT school is like
mm.
anything you do after must be for letters.
What are you certified in?
Yeah, which is nonsense, foolishness, tomfoolery. So I've taken a lot of education from people that are in different backgrounds than me.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that has kind of shaped where I'm at. And then the last biggest thing that shaped where I'm at is me developing a chronic illness and being on the other side, being on the receiving side of what it feels like to be a patient and realize
Mm,
how much is dismissed and how much you're just not taken seriously.
mhm.
It's like I
Especially
could
as a
spend
black
another
person.
hour on that.
We're supposed to
Yeah.
be pain. We don't even experience pain apparently.
No, I walk in and
Yeah.
they're looking at the chart like this, not at me. Well, it looks like your BMI is high. You could lose some weight. And then they look up at me and they're like, huh, but you don't look obese. Well, drink some water and cut down on soda. I don't drink soda, sir.
Right.
You didn't even ask me. And I still have to pay this copay? Like, refund me, run my money back. This is a waste of my life. So, yeah, I think all of those three things together have helped me stop being an asshole.
I mean, looking at my numbers once, I remember say just thinking of that, like looking at my numbers once. I remember they were like, "Well, so your liver numbers came back, and they're you do you drink alcohol?" And I'm like, "No, I don't. I'm Muslim." And he's like, "Yeah, but your liver numbers, I mean, are you sure? He asked me multiple times, did I,
Are you
drink? And I
sure?
was
Are you
like,
sure about your own
I was
life?
like, bro, I haven't had a drink in like, I don't know, 10 years. At that time, it was like 10 years, right? And so they had no explanation. And I'm just like, okay, like let me just try and figure things out myself. And I ended up figuring things out, which was obviously at the time I was doing like heavy, um, high fat, high protein, you know, diet, which was basically crushing my liver and causing my liver to give me all types of weird numbers. Once I changed that and like changed the whole way I eat, like it went back to normal. And the doctors had no, I came back for my next thing and they were like, well, it seems your numbers went back to normal, or they went back to a reasonable place and things were looking good. And I was like, but you had no role in helping me figure that out.
No. If anything, your note probably said patient with elevated ALT levels. Patient
Right,
is an unreliable historian.
right,
Educated on alcohol consumption. End.
right, right,
Like, done. Case
right,
closed.
right,
Oh
right,
my
Or
gosh.
whatever you did, keep doing it. Good job.
Yeah.
right.
Maybe.
Exactly what they said.
Maybe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know
That's.
what you're doing, apparently. Like, keep doing that.
But you know what's wild to me? Because as somebody who is a healthcare provider, if somebody comes to me and if I had something like that in my realm, I would have been like, what are you doing? I'm just so curious because that information to me is helpful for other people, right?
Right.
But I'm like a problem solver through and through. I really love gathering data and learning things. So, like, tell me what you're doing. Tell me, like, what happened. Maybe there's something I could learn that could help other people that I work with. But I swear it's just, I mean, I think there's so many things like the system
Yeah.
fails and it sets up a lot of that
Yeah.
stuff. But
It's back to the power dynamics because I'm the expert, I'm the provider, you're the patient. Like, no, this is a collaborative. You don't know my life, right? Like, you are just numbers, you are blood work. He doesn't know your life. When you leave the
Right.
office, you stop existing. So
Right.
it's like, we can't treat it like, I'm telling you what to do and that's it. Like, no, I can learn from my patients and they could
Yeah.
learn from me. And it goes back and forth.
And honestly, like I think it's more of a indictment on healthcare as a whole, and like the same old through lines, right? Like, I'm a Kaiser member here in California. I'm not sure if you probably have something like Kaiser, but it's literally, I mean, they're like nonprofits, but I'm like, you guys are about profit because clearly a doctor that I had, who I'm still in contact with, left because he couldn't do the lifestyle medicine that he wanted to do. And I was fortunate enough to get in with him when he was still just building his caseload initially. And so he spent like an hour like getting to know me, talking to me, like, and he was like, bro, you're amazing. Like you're the perfect patient. He was like, I can talk to you about all of these things. Like he's like, this is incredible, right? And so that's why we stayed in contact after he left. But when he left, I was like, where do I go now? Like who do I, you know? And he was like, I can recommend this person's nice. This person is. I was like, who's your doctor? And I was like, do you have a doctor here? And he's like, yes. And I was like, so who did you choose? And he's like, well, he's like, a 30-minute drive from here. And I was like, what's his name? Like,
mhm.
that's who I'm going to, because if you
That's what
chose
we're
to be
doing.
with this guy, then that's what I'm doing. And like, that's the thing. Like, he told me like his caseload went from like being able to give me an hour to, I think he said at the time he had like 50 patients on his roster, but they were trying to get him up to some insane, like some number that just did not make sense. And I was like, what do you do when you have that many people that are your patients? Like, how do you manage that? And he's like, that's why I'm not there,
I don't.
because
The
it's
answer is I
not
don't.
manageable. He's like, it's
Huh.
not manageable. He was like, if they don't contact me about something, then it's most likely I'm not going to contact them about anything. And I was like, so that's where we're at.
Yeah, that's
That's why we don't get our annual checkups or anything like that. They're happy when
yeah.
you don't. It's like having a gym
There's wait
membership.
list for every specialist. God forbid you need to see a specialist. It's gonna be next year.
It's like
It's
having a
gonna
gym
be eight
membership.
at least.
They
It's
hope that you
pretty
don't come in.
horrible. Yeah,
Don't use our services.
and I really wish. Wait, Doctor Jen still needs to answer the original question.
Yes.
So I'm going to try to keep this tangent brief. But I
Thanks for
really
refereeing us.
wish that healthcare workers would understand that they are the resource, because I see so many get disgruntled with patients, get frustrated with each other, and it's like, baby, we could all walk out right now. You know what I mean? Like, we could just go and then the hospital won't exist. Like, it's us.
Right.
Like, I really wish we could get that together, but that's,
Revolutionary.
yeah. But I wish we could
That's a
at least
social
stop taking
uprising
it
that
out
you're
on the
asking.
patients. Yeah.
You're asking for an overthrow of the medical system,
Just walk out.
which
Just walk out. What are they gonna do? Fire everybody?
I mean, we should do that. We should do that in a lot of spaces, to be honest with you. But
I mean, I kind
when
of
it comes down to it, people are gonna be like,
Wait,
"Well,
you did that?
I gotta pay my mortgage. Hold
I
on."
I mean, I kind of did that in my first job because I worked in a PT. They like put themselves up on a pedestal a little bit because they're like, we're not the PT mill, and I'm like, you actually were worse than that because you pretended not to be, but you still ran things like that, and you paid me less than you would have and gave me less benefits. So that's cool, but. When I was there, I had like 10 days of PTO or something my first year out of school. They threw me in to work with like a full caseload with no background. I didn't understand anything about insurance because my ortho like clinical I did in a cash-based clinic because that was my goal, was to open that up, and I knew it was going to take a while, but I wanted that background. Anyways, it was wild. I ended up getting sick because I was so stressed, like staying, like I had 40-hour work week of patients the entire time. No time for documentation. I documented through my lunch. I called doctors back. I was emailing people back. I was getting HE, like their home programs done through lunch and after. I would stay like an hour, 2 hours, like, and then we were building up our business on the side. So I would go do that whenever we were done. And then I was posting on social media at that point. So I was doing like 3 jobs and ran myself down, learned a lot, got really sick. We took off like 5 days, went and visited family in the summer. Because I was living in Florida, we live in Indiana now where our family is. And so it was like a big trip. And we wanted to do that again in the winter for Christmas. I wanted to go see my family. It's important to us to spend time with our family. I got sick. I had to take 4 days off of work because I had 103 fever or something. And then I ended up having a 99-degree fever for 30 days after because I had to go back to
Whoa.
work. I could not. I was like, I don't want to take more days off. So I ran out of PTO days, and then I was sick for like a month straight, but I had to go back to work, and it was miserable. And I don't know, I still have no idea. My immune system was like, hey, like something needs to change here. And it got to winter, and I was like, hey, I'm out of PTO days, but I need to go see my family. Like, this is really important. I'm so stressed. Like, so many things in my health was just like falling. And they were like, yeah. And I was like, so can I have a non-paid day off? Like 3 of them. I have one, I just want 4 days to drive up and drive back down, whatever. No, we can't do that. And I was like, you can't do that. I don't want to I'm not asking you not even to pay me for 4 days. I just want to know my job will be bad. We'll hear when I get back. And they were like, no, that's not possible. And I was like, okay, I got to find a way out of here. And I was just like, I took a plunge for another job that was also toxic, but a little bit better. And I was like, hey, here's my 30-day notice. I still gave them a 30-day notice because I was nice. I didn't want to screw my patients over mostly. And the director was nice. I think he just was a byproduct of a lot of stuff happening. But yeah, I was like, this is, if you can't provide me a good environment to like treat people the way I want, like I'm already compromising so much because you don't even have anything beyond like a 10-pound dumbbell here that I can't load people that they need to, that I'm putting all of your weights in a sack that I asked for from Walmart. Like, I don't know. I was just like, I'm done. So yeah, I kind of did end up leaving the system that way, and all because of PTO and because I was like, this environment's just not good. And I have 2 to 3 patients every hour at the same time. There is no privacy
Yikes.
for my patients to have conversations with me. Like, I was like, this just should not even be allowed. But I
Right.
digress.
That's
No, it shouldn't be allowed.
exactly how the physical therapy clinic I was an aide in operated. And
Yeah.
I was like, so, like, I was like, this. Initially, I thought, like, oh, this is just the way it is. Because for me, I had never had physical therapy myself, um,
Mhm.
and never needed to. I'm fortunate to not have any, like, real severe or real issues or injuries growing up. But, like, it was just like 10 beds, in this open space on, like, I don't know, the 10th floor of a building in the financial district. And, like, it was just people in and out, like in and out. And I remember watching the therapist like sit in the office or sit at the desk, like constantly filling out paperwork. And I was like, what is going on? And then they would like hand me this stack of like folders and be like, I just added like, crab, you know, what do you call them, clamshells, to
Just the
the
bane of my
I
existence.
just added clamshells to this person's thing. Go, teach them how to do clamshells and do, and I was just like, and I would see the thing is like I would see it repeated over and over again for different people, and I'm like, you're providing the same recommendation
Mm-hmm.
for all of these people who are coming in with something maybe similar but not the same. And I'm like, why is I was like this doesn't seem right. And then I'm juggling, like I've got like four folders, and I'm like, okay, you do clamshells and bridges, single leg. I don't care if you're doing them right or not. You're going step downs off the step, and then one of the owner of the place, she would call in and be like, I'm still, on my way. Um, I'm not here yet. Can you? She would call the front desk, and the front desk person would come to me and be like, she wants you to start these patients with A, B, and C. And I was like, oh, okay, I
Okay,
guess.
that's low key
Before
illegal, but
that's,
okay.
Low key.
Low
I was
key.
like, I'm like, but I was the one that was a problem. I ended up leaving that job before I got fired because they tried to make it a race thing at some point. She brought her husband into the thing, like, you seem to be threatening to the other
Of course.
therapists, and
Of
like
course.
they were all white female therapists, and they even hired a black therapist thinking like, oh, this guy will straighten him out. It's like, yeah, like I'm not concerned with him at all. Like,
Yeah.
he's
No.
not going to change
No.
that. But anyway,
No.
it was just a whole ordeal, and I was like, I never want to be in this sort of space ever again. Like, this is not for me. This is
Yeah.
not
It's
what I want to
it's
do.
pretty trash, and everybody is getting the same. Uh, this was like the first thing I learned when we were doing documentation, that people would just write hums, and that was like their documentation. And I was like, what the hell is this? Hot pack ultrasound massage stretches. I have to go in depth for this to push a button on a machine.
Here's the thing that will always be mind-boggling to me is the same people who get so mad that there are personal trainers or coaches doing like things that they think physical therapists should do are very often similar people who are giving the most low level, like same BS stuff to people and just being like there's nothing wrong with a hot pack or an ultrasound, whatever, if it makes people feel good and whatever, and that's their expectation. But like that's all they're doing, and it's the same for every person. And I'm just like, what do you expect people to do when you're not even doing your job really?
You're not helping anybody. And
The clinic I
instead,
work in has none of those things.
when you don't agree with that kind of stuff, then you get to be a problem. Then you get to be, you should try being friendlier. I had one lady that was actually nice, and like we were on the level with each other. And she was like, look, it was like my nursing home rotation. She was like, look, I know this place isn't great, but can you just try to make it look like you're happy to be here? She was a real one. I hope she's doing okay. And I was like, I'll try. But if it's one thing I'm gonna do is be honest. Sorry. Yeah.
That's really funny. That's good feedback.
Yeah. No, she's a real one. She was good.
Those
I
are
mean,
the
the clinic,
Okay.
those
the
are the
clinic I work out of has none of those things.
Yeah.
No hot packs, no ultrasound,
No, I
no
haven't touched
stem.
the e-stim machine in I don't know how long, unless I'm doing like neuro patient stuff. But I haven't used like any of that. An ultrasound. I don't know what the buttons even look like anymore. I don't remember the settings.
my in-laws brought one out the other day because my mother-in-law had a hip issue and my father-in-law is like a very immediate problem solver, like pain relief, whatever. So he's like getting all these things and he got out the eStem. He's like, yeah, whatever the eStem. I was like, I wouldn't even know how to use that. So go ahead if it feels good. Like, just make
Do
sure
your
she's
thing.
still coming over here and getting her exercise progressions because that's what I care about.
Do whatever you want. Yeah, the
And he's
big
like,
thing when I was in school was lasers. Everybody was up in arms about lasers, and I never saw a laser machine again.
the clinic that I did a round in that was
So
cash
weird.
based was obsessed with their like laser machine, and that was what I felt like. I was like, I can't believe I chose this over learning insurance. At least I could have learned the insurance model, which would have helped me. I did this so that you could do lasers on people. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is why in school they were so like when I said I wanted a cash based clinic, I was like, a lot of my professors didn't like me, and I don't know why. Like, a lot of them didn't like me, and they would be like, "Oh, cash based." Like, it was always very questionable. Like, I was taking con ed classes and like going out and learning more, and they also didn't like that. They were like, "You shouldn't be doing that."
They could smell the dissidence in you.
And
Yeah.
and I was
They
like,
don't
yeah,
like
I got
that.
pulled into one of my professor's office one day because he was like, you're not paying attention in class. And I was like, I don't learn this way. Like, I've done this the whole entire time. I cannot listen. I will go home and teach myself the PowerPoints and go ace the test fine. But I do not listen and learn. It just doesn't work for my brain.
No, I used to play video games in class. I'm not even gonna lie.
Yeah, I was like, look, all you need to do is look at my
They're
grades.
doing
I'm
nothing
fine.
for me.
He was
So
like, oh,
you guys are not you all are not saying anything that's like different from anybody I've heard who's gone through physical therapy, especially if they started working with people in any sort of capacity prior to physical therapy. They're like, I went to physical therapy school and I'm like in arguments with other students who have never worked with people before. I'm in arguments with my professors who apparently don't have a lot of hands-on experience. They're just teaching stuff. And everyone I've talked to who's like had the hands-on, like even strength and conditioning work before going to therapy school has always been like, I'm debating with somebody who's never actually helped a person become better. Like, but they hold the gate keys to let me
Yeah,
out
no. If
to
I
do
was
the
the
thing.
person I am now in PT school, I would have gotten written up so much. So much. Because it is very rare that a manager likes me, especially if they're the kind that doesn't like feeling threatened.
Oh,
So
which
I
was
would have
like
gotten
most
written
of
up.
my almost all of them, if I can remember correctly. All it was like so. Oh my gosh, yeah. So
God complex.
yeah,
Good
I know.
times.
Glad we're done with that, and
Yes.
we'll be going back. I actually have not talked. I've had people come to me who are like looking into doing their shadow hours, and they're like, I love like I found your website or I saw you on social media, whatever, and they're like, can I do hours with you? And I was pretty open to it if I had the capacity to. And I worked with a handful of students, and I think only about 2 out of maybe the 10, no, it's probably a little bit more than that, ended up actually going to PT school because we had a lot of real conversations. I was like, I'm not trying to talk you out of the profession because we do need more people who really do
Yeah.
want to make a change, but you have to know that these are the things you're up against. And I was
yeah.
like, I'm going to keep it real with you, and just so you know that going in. And a couple of them did. And one of them, I was like, this is what's going to happen. So he was messaging me here and there about situations and professors. And he's like, what do I do? And I was like, your job is to go in and learn and, do so in a way that makes sure that you are going to be able to be in it for a long run. So you don't necessarily want to argue with professors unless you feel like it's productive and you can,
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
like this doesn't really matter. We're just gonna deal with this and move on.
yeah.
Yeah, that's very real. Yeah. I also feel like something that I learned outside of PT, formal, whatever institutions or certifications is just being aware and intentional with movement. Like I don't really think that that is even really drilled in.
Mm,
I could probably get more about that going to like a yoga pose class than any of my education.
yeah.
Of even just noticing like,
Intention.
oh, are you clenching your jaw? Can you breathe deeply? What are you even trying to accomplish here? Why are you doing
Mm-hmm.
this?
Like the reality of working with real humans versus like a textbook description of something. Like, yeah, I remember that in school too, because like when I got out into the real world, it was like when you're working with somebody, there are so many things that go into coaching. It's to me, I call it coaching. Like that's the difference is like,
Mm-hmm.
how do we coach these things and what do you feel? Like that question was
Mm-hmm.
a very simple question. One of the
Mm,
ones I ask the most that is honestly the hardest for most people because we just live in worlds and we're so disconnected from our bodies and
mm,
there's so many things inside that. But that's a simple question. I don't think that was anything like taught at all. It was like, here's this problem and here's the exercise you give for it so that if it shows
mm,
up on a test, you know which answer to pick.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But
And
Your hips are your glutes are weak.
yeah, okay.
Like,
And even
oh,
if that's
great.
true, like even if the correct answer is glute bridges, okay, but how are we doing them? Are we doing them at a
Right.
tempo? Are we doing them with the breath? Are we doing them like a hamstring focus? Are we doing them in what position? Are we loading them? Are we doing
Mm-hmm.
holds? Are we doing sets? What are we trying
Mm-hmm.
to achieve here? Are we doing endurance? Are we going like
Right.
all of these
Strength,
kinds of
power.
questions
Like,
for
do
one
you
exercise?
do you know what I remember in PT school them saying a lot was how much they hated 3 sets of 10. And
Yes.
you know I give a lot of 3 sets of 10. I was so worried about 3 sets of 10,
It's
not
such
as
an
if
easy number.
it's a very simple number, and really, what the thing is I understand why they didn't like it. I get it, but for something to harp on, like of all the things you could focus on for future physical therapists and healthcare providers, that is the thing
It's
you
the
ingrain in
three
our
sets of
brains.
10. Not the fact that all of our home exercise programs are copies of a bad copy of a bad copy and they're crooked and you can't read them. We're not worried about that. That's not important at all.
Or just
Three sets of
asking,
10
or
is a
asking
problem.
even the patients like, hey, what do you have the capacity for? Like, what is your schedule like? Where are we going to fit this in? How do we need to make this work for your life? Like, what does that look like? And making sure we prescribe something according to that. No, it was just make sure it's never 3 sets of 10. I'm like, 3 sets of 10 is not that bad. Like, it is
Yeah.
probably actually going to be more often than you realize because it's a simple way. It's like the
It's easy.
dose and the intensity matters and all the other things that you were talking
Yeah. Or even just realizing the other thing that I learned being out in the real world is like everybody doesn't learn by paper. Why aren't we even talking about the ways that people learn? Are people visual learners? So like I'm gonna
yeah.
if you're my patient, I'm gonna be like, do you want me to write this down? Do you want a video of me? Do you want a
Right.
video of you? Do you want
You. Right.
pictures? How do you want
Right.
to do this? How are you gonna learn? Because some people might learn by you touching and giving tactile cues. Some people that might throw them the hell off. So those are things that aren't discussed either, and oftentimes people on the other end will feel like, oh well, I guess I'm not a smart person because I just can't get this. And there are so many people that try exercise, not even in a PT setting, go to group fitness or whatever, and they're like, well, I'm just clumsy then, or I'm just not good at this. And it's like, well, no, the teacher, the instructor, the coach, whoever is just not good at teaching because everybody doesn't learn the same way.
I think one of the hardest things from my position is that I fall closer to. I feel like I fall closer to what physical therapy is, but at the same time, like I know there's a lot of physical therapists that don't fall close to what it is that I do, and so like what you all said falls in alignment with the way in which I approach coaching, training, strength and conditioning, because I view physical therapy or physical training as, I view that as an element of it. Like strength and conditioning is an element of it. And then for me, I just always think about, like, from my vantage point, like it's a tolerance thing for the way in which I coach someone, right? Like, how much are you able to tolerate? So, like, whenever I talk to a therapist, I'm trying to ask, I see their perspective on, like, if someone's in pain or someone's dealing with something, it's like, well, if they can tolerate this, then we work up to tolerance, right? And I don't see it as being any different as a strength coach, because we're looking at capacity for whatever it is you do, right? So it's like, what are you able to tolerate before your capacity is exceeded, you know? And I think one of the challenges with me as a coach is getting people. I always say, like, a coach's job is to get people who are doing too much to do a little bit less, and people who are doing a little too little to do more. And so for me, like, whenever I come into, like, assessing and meeting a person for the first time, it's like, well, where are you at? And then I'm like, oh, you're doing way too much. And so then it's like, how do I find that type A person and be like, yo, I got to scale this person way back? And they're looking at me like, why are we going so slow? Why are we doing so little? I'm like, because you don't even know what it feels like. Like, you're just doing stuff. You've just been doing.
You're just
Like, oh,
flailing around.
what do you do? Well, I do squats and I do this and I do that. And I'm like, you don't even know what you're supposed to be feeling when you do it. Like, you don't even know how to engage what you need to engage. That's why we're starting at this, like, very, very scaled back space. And their mind, because, like, everything we've been taught and we've been conditioned, their mind is like, we got to go fast. We got to do more. We got to do volume. We got to
We gotta
do
lock in.
They're like,
four
it's an
sets of
on-off button.
4 sets of
That's
8.
it. It's
Right.
on or
I'm
it's
like,
off.
why do you feel like you need to do so much? Like, why do you feel like you need to be, this question I ask all the time. Why
Yeah.
do you feel like you need to be sore for 4 days after the training? Like, I didn't feel like I got a really great workout because I wasn't sore, like, on Thursday, and we worked out on Monday. And I'm like, because the objective of our training was not to make you sore. The objective of our training was to get a specific neurological adaptation, physiological adaptation in your body. Like, I don't want you to be like, if your objective is to do, like, is to still be running tomorrow or cycling tomorrow or, like, go on a 50-mile bike ride or still play basketball on Thursday, then I'm like, I'm not here to crush you on Tuesday to the point where you're like, now
You can't do anything
I'm
else.
not doing anything, right? So it's counterproductive to
Yeah.
what our goal is.
But that's how
You know what I
people
mean?
view fitness and movement is just go hard, do the most. But I mean, I like to tell what I find myself telling folks a lot is, well, how often do you brush your teeth? 2 minutes twice a day? And your teeth are fine? Do you have to brush them till they bleed? No. Like, do you have to, like, work hard? No. You just have to be consistent.
My gums are so sore. I can't even brush them again.
I can't
I
brush
can't.
my, so, you know,
I
like,
can't brush my
relax.
teeth
It's
again.
not that serious. Like, calm down. Like,
That's
literally,
a good one.
calm
I gotta use that
down.
one. I gotta use that one.
Yeah,
I
I
needed
just
that one.
got the toothbrush thing from. I say that all the time with, like, cars and things like that because it's, like, simple.
Yeah.
But the intensity at which you brush your teeth is a
You're
new
like,
layer.
vigorously.
Yeah, like, it's not that serious. It's literally 2 minutes, just la la. Da, da.
And it doesn't make it more effective. Like, it actually
No.
just deters you, like, from
Right.
being able to do it again in the next couple of days without
Right.
being miserable. So what are you doing?
Exactly.
You're actually
Exactly.
creating more problems for
You're
yourself.
making it worse.
Right.
Relax.
Right.
So I'm with you. Now you made me want to ask a question. Dr. Jen, you kind of touched on it when you're like, folks are very disconnected from their bodies and they don't even know what they feel. And then Coach Rich, you kind of touched on it of like, you don't even know what you're supposed to be doing in a squat. So I'd love to know what's like one motion or concept that you are surprised people cannot grasp. So like, for example, when I would teach powerlifters and strongmen, nobody knew how to do a simple brace. Not one. All they did was
Hmm.
push into the belt, which
Right.
means nothing. That's a Valsalva maneuver, my guy. That's not related to what I was asking you. Not one. That used to always shock me. And these are people that could, squat 3 times their body weight, but they did not know how to embrace their core. Not embrace, brace their core.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would, so the one I find really interesting, and you've probably seen it in some of my videos or things I've written before, is like, to me, the knee is the funniest one. Like, people not realizing tibial rotation is actually a requirement of their knee joint. And then, like, the aha moment, and I think it goes back to, like, I tell every single client that I have, like, we all should have learned this in school because it's our body. Like, it's the only thing we own and we will have until the day that we're no longer in existence, and we know nothing about it. Like, it
Yeah.
should be from like elementary school, from like kindergarten all the way through 12, that we are stacking the building blocks of like what it is our body does, how it functions, how to care for it. Like, there should be
Like the
one class
physical
every
education.
single time. Like, just
Yeah. No.
like, and so
Go run
when
some
I tell
lap,
them
kids. Stop asking me
your knee is supposed
questions.
to rotate, they're like, "What? Your knee's supposed to rotate? Like, what?" And I'm like, "Yes." And then it's like you show them the tibial rotation, and then I cue them in to, grab, next to their hamstrings, and I'm like, "You feel those things there? Those are your hamstrings. That's what's inserting into." Oh, wow. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I feel those. Like, you never thought at any point in time, like, oh, those things are something that belong to, like, they do something, and they just think, oh, well, the hamstring, it flexes and extends, and they're like, well, but also the hamstrings are rotators, and they're like, what? And you put them there and you have them try to rotate, and they're like, oh, I can feel it, and you're like, yes. I was like, so based on that, you now have an understanding of like how that tissue is supposed to operate, and now you can train that tissue in those specific spaces. But if you can't control it, you can't train it. So I'm trying to get those things across to people. Like,
Yeah, no, that's a big one.
so if you can't move it, you can't train it. Like, where? How does that not get into your head and be like? And then the relationship between, so there's two things. There's like the knee joint in general, but then there's the relationship between like the way you feel, or the way your mental map portrays or understands insertion versus origin of the muscle tissue. So, like, particularly with the hamstring, a lot of people have this disconnect between like, where are you experiencing the stretching sensation, and then so where are you experiencing muscle contraction, and so then what are you prioritizing with regards to your movement and your training? Because I had a client who was was under the impression that, like, oh, well, they said that I needed to stretch my hamstrings, and I'm like, but at what point of the hamstring, like, what part of the hamstring are we trying to stretch, or what are you trying to impact? Like, is it a restriction that you're feeling or sensing higher up in the hamstring, or are you feeling restricted lower in the hamstring? Like, which one of those areas is it? And they're like, I never thought of it. So I was like, so you just did leg curls because of something that's going on at your hip and back, right? Like, in their mind, they're like, oh, they said I need to strengthen my hamstring, so do more leg curls. And I'm like, yes, but also, what is the relationship between your hamstring and hip, which is more directly related to your back as far as training goes, right? So I think a lot of people have a disconnect between like that thing, and I like to, like, give them the aha about that and help them
Yeah.
build on that training input.
I
Yeah.
could I could give people a little more grace on your second example. because
Yeah.
general health and
No, but I
fitness
mean,
like
I guess the
magazines
more,
and whatevers and yeah, they don't tell you anything. I could
well, I guess
understand
the
that
issue
one.
is more, I guess the
I
issue
could
was more
I could see
not
that
with
one.
them, but more with the provider who
The advice.
suggested that, right? Like
Oh yeah.
the advice they got, which was
Oh
usually from
yeah.
it's usually from another professional saying, well, just work on hamstring strength, right? So
Which is not
it's
one
not
thing.
them per
Yeah,
se,
what does that
it's
mean?
it's the person that's delivering that information that's
Oh
not
yeah.
directing them
No. Oh no no.
to
That
that.
I've definitely seen 1,001 times.
Yeah.
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 Absolutely. What do you got, Dr. Jen?
The knee one's also a good one. I was mind boggled by that when I think I learned that. I don't remember. We did do that in PT school because we learned how to assess it, but I couldn't move it. Like in PT school, I feel like I learned some of these things. Then I went and took FRC, and FRC like really connected a lot of dots for me. And I was like, this is what I thought PT school was going to give me, and it didn't. So
Hmm.
when I took the course, they showed you how to actually like rotate your knee, right? Like in PT school, it was like, here's how you assess it, but it was like how to coach it, forget about it. And
Yeah, you
I
don't
had two
train it
knee
or
surgeries
do
and
anything with
never
it.
had anybody go through knee rotation with me. So I was like, this is wild. So that was a big one for me too. And I love teaching that one because people are like, what the heck is this? And I'm like, yeah, it's a knee. It's a movement we're supposed to do. But for me, I would say the biggest thing that I think is a disconnect is actually spine articulation, like spine
Mm.
segmentation. Trying to get people to, regardless of how long they've been in the fitness industry, but especially I think if anybody has done like, they're like, I've done cat cow. Sure, I know how to do that. And I'm like, but do you know how to treat your spine like it's more than one thing? Because it's not a long rod, it's a bunch
Yeah.
of segments
And
that have
even your
all.
cat and cat, what are you actually doing?
Yeah, and like, what do you feel?
Right.
And they're like, oh my gosh, like I can't feel anything. And so that is like a big, huge gap. And I think there's like a
Mm.
huge, like I think I remember reading a research article about this, and they had like a clicker, like a noise, and people who have chronic pain, um, I think they had them face down on like some sort of a table, and they had them draw on a spine like or on their back where they were hearing the noise. They would click it over different areas. People who had chronic pain had less sensory input of just the sound, that they could
Mm.
not tell where it was. They couldn't even draw on the thing where they were hearing it as well. And so that was wild to me. And when I learned that, and then all of these things I'm seeing in working with people who have these chronic spine issues, I'm like, we don't like, of course there's the whole side of like when we approach spine rehab, it's like we forget everything else we do with other rehabs, like elbow rehab. Okay, we're going to load your elbow. Spine rehab, we're going to do hips only. And then and we're gonna do some core work, but don't move your spine. I'm like, okay. And so I finally get to people or they finally get to me, and I'm trying to teach them how to do their spines, and it's like this disconnect. And I've had multiple clients get really frustrated, and they're like, I just can't feel anything. And so we try all of these things, but it's a really emotional experience because they're like,
Yeah.
this is my body. How am I so disconnected from it? And I'm like,
Yes.
I've been there, like for sure. So sometimes we have to take like a big breather and find some different ways to work on things. But that I think is probably the biggest
Yeah,
area
no.
that I think for me is what I see.
That's a big
De-
one. Oh,
Definitely
wow.
the fear of
Yeah.
moving through the spine as
Yeah,
well.
all we
Like,
know is only straight, no bend.
right,
No bend.
right.
Only
Who's
straight.
that person that's like neutral spine all the time?
McGill.
What? Yeah, oh my
I
God.
took the
Is
McGill
it?
course.
Oh,
It was
okay.
Stu
That's
McGill.
not the. Never mind. I was thinking Mackenzie.
It's like they're
Yeah,
all like
they're
such
not.
neutral spine.
It's not
Like you
making
should be
sense. And it's
should I do
not
more
taught
planks?
as. It's not even taught as. Oh, you just had like a huge surgery. Do these things for a little bit. Like it's not even taught as that. It's just like,
No, not like a
no
temporary.
bend forever
Yeah.
Right.
for everyone, no matter
I
Forever moving.
what.
I took that
Forever moving.
advice and I was like, okay, this is the checklist of how we're supposed to do things. Got it. I'm gonna get an A on that checklist. And like for the very beginning, like in PT school, I want to say it was like right in the middle. I have scoliosis, like my spine's I have like 46-degree curves, two of them, and so um, I've had a lot of spine fear and things, and so I was like, okay, I have a lot of back pain because I didn't move my spine because the doctors were like, avoid everything, your spine is so fragile, whatever. So then I was like, okay, well, I need to be really careful about my spine. And so I heard that information and read some of McGill's stuff, and I was like, yes, I'm gonna not move my spine. I'm gonna get an A in this. Like, I'm not, whatever. My spine was so stiff. Like, that's the thing
Yeah.
about scoliosis. It gets really stiff, especially like, because there's that rotational part and we have like a lot of stiffness in like the rib cage. Oh my gosh. So
Yeah.
anyways, the last, I don't know how many years has been me trying to restore movement in my spine, but
No,
I,
that's real. That's real.
That's real.
I met a dancer. Oh, what is her name? Paige Frazier, I think. And she has scoliosis, and her whole life, obviously, you're broken. That's incorrect. The alignment's wrong. Gotta be surgery. She never did it, and she actually. Now I'm trying to remember the name of this like exercise modality. I've never seen it before. It's the wildest thing. It's like gyrotonics or
I've heard of
something
that.
like that. And it's like equipment that you push and pull. So like it kind of think of like a Bowflex Pilates mashup, but it doesn't let you go in a straight line. Everything is rotational. And she's like, that was the best thing I could have ever done for my back. And now that you're saying that, I'm like, yeah, that tracks. Yeah, because you're getting into the planes of motions that you've been afraid to your entire life.
Right.
Yeah.
So that tracks. I think we're a little over time,
Oh,
but
Hard
yeah,
to-
yeah, yeah. It's
feel
easy
like
to
we were
yeah.
just starting. We were
I'm-
just starting.
It's easy
I
to
Heating
was
up.
getting warmed up.
I know,
It
we're
was-
just yeah.
it was
So we
just-
got a couple minutes. What do we end
We're gonna have
on
to do a
here?
part two. We're gonna have to do a part two of this one.
There's so much to talk about. There's so much to talk about.
I'm just doing my calisthenics. You know what I mean? Just
I know.
stretch
Oh,
it.
actually, now that I just stretched, one other motion that I am surprised. This is like the opposite. I'm surprised people expect to have is they see my overhead press and they're like, "How do I get my elbows to bend like yours?" And I'm like, "Honey, you don't want that. This is not something to aspire to. This is hypermobility." But that to say, I think we very much also live way too much in this is exactly how another person looks, and this is exactly how I must look
Yes.
And move.
and
I feel
move.
like both of those things. That was something that was really
Yes.
interesting to me, was like, this is how a split should look. Like your split should be this way, or like your movement should look exactly like this. I'm like, who says who?
Right. Says who?
Says who?
White
The
supremacy.
same people who believe in the
Well,
BMI.
I mean, they're all made up exercises, right? Squats, barbell squats, deadlifting, all those things have been taught to us and told that like these are the things you need to do. And I tell people all the time that come to me to train, I was like, you don't need to do that. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. Like I
You
don't
don't have
care.
to do anything.
You don't have to do it. You don't have to do anything. If you like it, fantastic. But it's like this week, for example, or last week, I was working with a guy who's a former soccer player from Stanford, and he was like, like I want to get back in the squat, and I want to do this, I want to do that. So we've been working on these things, and he's like, I want to do pistol squats, and I was like, okay, cool, whatever. But like he had been avoiding doing squats and stuff, and he's been playing tennis and doing all this stuff, and I was like, you're avoiding doing squats, why? And he was like, well, because when I get deep into the squats, like I just always feel like I lean forward and it's putting this pressure on my back spine, so I'm really worried about my spine. And he was like, I see other people, and I was like, bro, you're 6'4", your mechanics or your way you're built is going to put you in a certain position. And so we did this whole build up because I started, we've been working on his hips and things, and I was like, let me show you like how I would program for you this session so that it's squat focused, but we're going to move your accessories are going to be rooted in your objectives and goals of doing a pistol squat. I was like, so we'll start in with like, we'll focus on hips today. We'll do hips, get your hip mobility, we'll work on that, and then we'll lead that into your main lift, which is going to be squat. We'll get your spine involved, we'll do some segmentation, as Dr. Jen said, we'll do some segmentation, we'll get your spine involved. And then I set up the pins at like, I don't know, maybe like 3/4 depth. So like not the depth he could go to, 3/4 depth. And I was like, yeah, so we're going to do squats from here. And he was like, why? Like, well, why? And I was like, well, because it's a point at which you can still load and you're not feeling nervous about your spine. And so like, let's go. He was like, I was like, how much do you normally do? He's like, I haven't squatted in so long, you know. So I was like, well, let's just start with, 165. We did 165. He banged out like 5 reps really easy. I was like, how did that feel? He's like, easy, great. I was like, let's add more weight. Add more weight, 5 reps. He's like, wow, that felt really easy. I was like, of course, because you're not going full depth, and plus you're starting from the pins. So he got up to like 225, and he's like, man, I haven't had this much load on my back and like in the squat for so long. Like, this feels fantastic. Like, so he's excited, right? And I'm like, you can do squats. You don't have to do a squat ass to grass to squat and feel good about squatting. Just change the position.
It still counts.
I never thought of that. Like,
Yeah.
bro, like,
Realize how many options we have. Like, there's infinite options.
Literally infinite.
infinite.
Literally infinite. I see so many people online and TikTok like, I hate Bulgarian split squats. So why are you doing them, girlies? Do something else. I don't understand. And you don't even have like and most of the time these are not people with specific goals that have anything to do with that position or those muscles.
Nope.
It's one thing
Not
if
at
it's like, okay, I have to do scapular things I don't want to do if I want to be an aerialist. Like, I got to do it, right? Sometimes there are things you just have to do.
Yep.
But for the most part, if you don't like it, there's no reason that you have to do it. Then don't.
Nope.
Just do something
I don't like
else.
powerlifting. Don't powerlift.
I feel like people, for us being adults with a lot more freedom of choice than sometimes we realize, it's like, you can choose not to do that. Like, it's like, what?
Yeah, you don't have to do it. I mean,
But
it's
I have
kind
to
of
do
like
the 3 big lifts. I
Yeah,
have to do
I mean,
squats, deadlifts, and bench press. I have to do it.
have to. I was very much stuck even just first working out and going to YMCA and stuff like that. Like, oh, okay, so the only things that I can do is I could cycle, I could do Zumba, and that's treadmill. That's it. That's all there is. Nothing else.
Nope.
No, nothing else. And then when I got to powerlifting, everybody was very hardcore, like the way you said, Coach. They're like, no, you can't cross train. You can't do strongman and this at the same time. No, you can't run a 5K. No, you
Zone
can only
2.
do one.
Aerobic work. Why are you doing that?
Because I want to. I can do whatever I want. We're all on this dusty rock just to do one thing? That seems very silly. And if you believe in a God, why would my God choose me to do only one movement? That doesn't make sense to me.
Do the squat until you become the squat. Become the squat.
That is your
You are not
sole
a squat.
purpose in life, my son.
Be the squat.
Is you must do Bulgarian split squats
You have
and
to.
pistol squats. You have to.
Because it would increase your ankle mobility.
Gosh.
Yeah, yeah.
That part.
Yeah. Anyways,
So much more. So much more.
that was fun. But we're gonna call it here because I could talk
Was
forever.
there anybody on at all? Did anybody get a chance to?
Yes, but people,
No
we did get no questions. We didn't get any questions, no. So people just kind of hung out and pop in and out. And then this will be shared on all of the audio platforms and posted as a video later. And I'll put in the show notes everybody's handles and websites so you can see their offerings and what they're doing. I would hope everyone listening already knows my offerings and what I'm doing. That'd be kind of weird. But if you're new here, the links should be there too. So, yeah, thanks for joining. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
I'm just
Appreciate it.
grateful.
For
We
having
should
me.
do this again.
I like this conversation.
Yeah.
Great conversation. All right, I'm going to hit it with the outro, and then we'll end the live. Thanks for hanging out and listening to the Movement for Everybody podcast. You can find the book by its same name at major retailers, independent bookstores, and your local library. Be sure to follow me at Move with Marcia on all the socials and say hello sometime. Toodles. Cusco. Cut.
Nice.
Um,
Toodles.
s-
I
Toodles.
like that too.